Arthur Cotton Moore was a Renaissance man. He achieved both national and international recognition as an architect and planner, preservationist, author, painter, sculptor, and furniture designer. He dedicated his life to the preservation and improvement of the nation's capital. Born in 1935, Arthur spent his early years at Tanglebank, his grandparents' Victorian house in the Kalorama neighborhood. A sixth-generation Washingtonian, he attended the St. Albans School and in 1958 enrolled in Princeton University, where he earned his bachelor's degree and a master's in fine arts and architecture. In 1965, Arthur established his architecture firm, beginning a decades-long career that catapulted him to becoming one of the city's most preeminent architects. His portfolio included both new construction and preservation projects, often creating a dialogue between them.
What Arthur talked about was that he was a local guy. I mean, he grew up here and he stayed here. So I think that's probably where his interest in and passion for the city came from. That informed his architecture. Washington is a place where people think nobody comes from here, that everybody comes to here. But here was somebody who did come from here and, wanted to take from the city in the sense of its creativity and jobs for an architect, but also wanted to give back to the city.
In the 1970s, he designed a repurposing of Canal Square in Georgetown. Located on the C&O Canal, the project incorporated a 19th century warehouse with a modern addition for office and retail use. Another project on the canal combined the 1914 Duval Foundry with new construction. These projects became early models for the commercially and aesthetically successful adaptation of existing buildings for new purposes, a key facet of historic preservation.
He was never talking to me about other cities, right? It was Washington. He knew it from where he grew up and his family had grown up to the projects he had built, and then the problems he was wrestling with. He should have been mayor. He really just had a passion for DC.
As the preservation movement began to coalesce in Washington in the 1970s, Arthur actively advocated with Don't Tear It Down to save the old post office from demolition, even anticipating the building's ultimate repurposing as a hotel. Arthur's firm went on to design the building's 1984 adaptation for office use by such federal agencies as the National Endowment for the Arts and retail functions.
His idea of preservation was not just you take it back to some date. You think in terms of what are the principles underlying the essence, the beauty, the integrity of this building or this space. And you respect it enough that you don't let it die a death in the 19th century or the 18th century, but you give it a new life. And I think he had a very creative way of thinking that way. And I think it was quite unique among the architects I have known.
Another of his most important preservation projects was the $80 million restoration and modernization of the Thomas Jefferson and John Adams buildings for the Library of Congress. The restoration and rehabilitation helped to restore the grandeur of the buildings, exposing concealed art, as well as reviving historical elements from years of decay. One of Arthur's major new construction projects was the $200 million development of Washington Harbor on the Georgetown waterfront. Prior to the late 1970s, Georgetown had only industrial activities south of K Street. Arthur's bold postmodern design helped connect people back to the river for work and leisure. Arthur also had a lifelong dedication to the city of Washington outside his design practice, evidenced by his generously volunteering his ideas and expertise. He created many visions and plans, detailed most recently in his 2017 book, Our Nation's Capital: Pro Bono Public Ideas. These included steps connecting the Kennedy Center to the Potomac River waterfront, designs for converting obsolete metro cars into housing for the homeless, and a National Mall underground to provide parking and a visitor center for tourists.
He was always trying to solve the city's problems and anticipate the problems. And so he also knew it wasn't static. He wasn't somebody that was trying to freeze everything in time, but recognize that growth does happen, and how can it happen in a way that's going to be more fruitful, more meaningful.
In his final days, Arthur continued his long service as an advocate by championing the preservation of one of our city's key landmarks. He joined the preservation community and the public in opposition to the Library of Congress's proposed replacement of the head librarian's elevated desk, the winder stair, and the book request staging cabinetry of the main reading room's circulation desk with a glass oculus, an act which would destroy the design intent and special relationships of this nationally significant space. Through a lifetime of dedication, Arthur Cotton Moore has had an enduring impact on Washington, D.C. His designs, from the residential to the institutional, are essential elements in the city's built environment today. It would not be Washington, D.C. without him. His passion and ideas will live on far into the future, making the city he loved a more magnificent and brighter place.